Happy Hum Day, everyone. Hello, friends who is tuning in from LinkedIn, Instagram, hello, IG, YouTube, and Facebook. Welcome, welcome, and welcome to another of my weekly LinkedIn Live, 30 minutes coffee break with your LinkedIn gal. You guys know the drill. If you can hear me crystal clear, please leave us a comment and let us know where you're dialing in from. And the fact that you're here today, it means so important to me and my very special guest. I'm Salina Young again. I'm ex-LinkedIn girl turned into the CEO of the In Academy. In the middle of COVID, I'm showing up for my amazing community. I'm looking at you every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time or 3 p.m. Central European Time to share one tip to help you to get real result on LinkedIn. But today, I'm going to share a topic with you that I'm very, very passionate about. But hold your horses. Let me share some of the insight that I have recently discovered about myself. It's something that I have been a little bit ashamed of talking about it. And I have just really owned up to it and start to be actively aware, address, and talk about it. If you've been really following some of my LinkedIn content, you perhaps know what the topic is about. And I decided to share with you because you, my fellow entrepreneur friends, could relate. Mostly, you might experience before jump when you heard the alarm clock and start your day right away. Sleep only 4 to 5 hours and work during weekend. And things as you are hustling. And in order to get all the things done and think that that's your successful formula. Is that you? Or you have been stress eating. I do. I know my stress eating habit. It's not good. And prioritize work over exercise. And indeed, I've got 1 month without workout and my morning routine yoga. Think multitasking is a good thing? Is that you too? I am. I thought multitasking is something really good and have problem to really delegate and trust people and let go of the routine tasks that could basically delegate to somebody else, my VA. And the worst still is thinking in an impulsor mindset. I'm not worth the investment. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I'm a fraud. Oh my gosh. What if my clients absolutely hate everything that I do? Maybe I just cancel the program that I put, my heart and soul creating that. Is that you, my friend? Want to know a big secret? You're not alone. Entrepreneur journey can be really, really lonely. Don't have anybody to tell you what to do. You might lose track. Worse still, you will feel burnout. Ultimately, these are not growth and healthy habits for any of us. So I just want to say hello, Nelly, Yusama, so good to see you. James, great to see you. Andrew, Hazan, so great to see you. And guys that joining from Instagram as well. Kareem, so happy to see you. And this month, you know what this month is? It's the Mental Health Awareness Month. And now that I'm more aware of these signals, I try to spend as much time possible living in that present moment and where life is actually happening rather than keep hustling. This approach has really helped me to shift my unhealthy habits. I mean, still now I have some popping here and there as I am building my business. I am sharing with you this today because these scary, horrible habits popping up in and out as something that we all have to deal with from time to time. And because of that, I'm super stoked and invite my incredible friends, the founder of Growth Habit, Robb, ex-people and culture lead in tech and featured in Forbes retired DJ. Yes, you heard that. Him and I is going to share the same passion of helping people grow their business. But it all means nothing without human connection and deeper purpose. So before further ado, I want to say hi to Robb. Woohoo! Let me add him to the stream. Hey. Robb!
Hey, Salina, thank you so much for such a kind intro.
Of course, not kind at all. I mean, you are the guy knowing everything about growth habit. Let me ping you on YouTube as well. So for whoever, oh, you're so smart. Thank you, Robb. Thank you. Great. Oh my gosh, I just want to pull in some really great, awesome friends. Adrian, so happy to see you. Oops. Is it me? It's me.
That was me. I had it turned all the way down, but apparently it didn't work. It's still not, I can't have it at 0. I don't know why. We might not be able to do both live.
Yeah.
Sorry, Instagram.
Yes. Instagram is always a little bit difficult. And Andrew, so happy to see you. And yeah, let me close this. And Andrew, really, really good to see you. Hello from San Francisco. Wow. And Robb, you have to help me with the French.
He's saying that he can understand you clearly. Clairement, clearly.
Clairement. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Cool. And Hamza from Monaco. Hello. And James, hello. Greeting from Malaysia. Amazing. Melly. So good to see you. And Yusama, really, seriously, super happy that you guys are here. And with my special guest, Robb. Robb, how are you today?
I'm doing very well. I'm starting my day with you, which feels like the perfect way to start my day.
Yay! I'm so excited. And today I know see, Yusama's like, Robb in the house. Yes,
thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I hope I do not butcher your name. And hello from India. Hello back to you. And I'm so excited that you can join us today. And Robb, welcome to my weekly coffee break LinkedIn live show. And early on, I learned from you that you only have 6 coffee over like the start of this year, right?
Up till now, from the January 1st till now, I've had 6 coffees. I don't drink coffee regularly. So while you're having coffee, I'm having some water.
All right, sounds good. And what's the occasion for those 6 coffee? I'm just really curious.
There are normally days where I have nothing booked. I have no calls booked, and they're creative days, they're thinking days, they're strategic days. And then I will splurge and treat it as a special occasion because I love coffee. I love the boost. I love the gratitude it gives me. I love the energy, but I don't like the crash. And I feel like coffee is stealing energy from tomorrow. So I think one of those coffees, because I was burnt out or tired, I didn't get enough rest, I was like, I'm going to cheat. But the other 5 were, I want to be super creative. I want to have a really, a day of idea generation and strategic thinking. So
Yeah, wow. You got to tell me those creative days as well as strategic thinking in just a bit. And before we dive into today's topic, which is growth habits for entrepreneur, I know, right? Rob's company is called Growth Habits. So don't get me wrong, but he is really the expert to talk about that. But I really want, my audience to get to know you, Rob. Tell me one thing that is not on your LinkedIn profile.
I spent a lot of time thinking about this. And I struggled because I put so much out there. I'm very open as far as what I share and what I put out there. And so I'll share a couple things that aren't necessarily like on my profile that have maybe come up in posts. One is I dropped out of high school. I didn't finish high school. I got my GED later. Instead of going to university, I started a business as a teenager. My first real business where I had overseas clients, where I was taking orders from people in different countries, was as a teenager. And the other thing is I grew up on military bases. My dad was in the Army. So we either moved around a bunch, and when we weren't moving around, then my friends were all moving.
Oh, wow. It must be really difficult for you for childhood because your friends are, but in a good sense, you speak tons of languages. And I remember when we first catch up during e-coffee, you told me you have been to Luxembourg. Am I right?
No, I haven't been to Luxembourg, but I appreciate geography, and I know Europe, and I knew where it was, and it surprised you. Yeah, and I would say lots of languages. My mother tongue is French. I speak French fluently. I speak English. And what the moving around piece, what it did is, if you had a good family structure, if you had a good support system, for a lot of people, it allowed you to be able to evolve, and you be able to deal with change, and for you to be able to really be a chameleon. If you didn't have that, or different kinds of personalities or different families, I see a lot of people, then it turned into struggle and strife. But for me, it means that you can put me in almost any situation and I can adapt.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. And I totally resonate with that because when I was young, I also lived in multiple different countries because of my dad's job. So I do see the beauty of it. Like you have a very global mindset. There's a lot of perks about it, but obviously there is also drawbacks in terms of like your friends. You've got really to your base for a couple of years, and then you've got to move. But I'm very curious to know a little bit of your very first business, Rob. So you talk about you are like drop shipping type of e-commerce idea. Tell us about it.
So I'm laughing because this is you forgetting how old I am, and I'm much, much older than you. And dropshipping e-commerce, I don't know, maybe it was a possibility then, but it definitely wasn't something that was as popular as it is now. I had a record label. I was really into music, and I love music, and I love DJing, and I love collecting music and sharing music. And I realized that a lot of people I was friends with and peers were starting to create music, but there was no outlet for us to put out music. So I created a record label, and I've had 2 record labels over the years. And it meant that I was making physical product, and I was having distributors, one in New York, one in the UK. Had a fax machine in my bedroom that I would get orders from.
I remember fax machine. is the worst when it comes to like, I think when the fax machine is working, none of the things you can use, right? Especially your phone. And that's one of the things I remember my dad keeps scolding me for when I was young. I keep like trying to talk on the phone for the longest time. Wow, very interesting. And you have such early entrepreneur mindset. That's incredible to know, Rob. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Okay, I just want to pull June's comment. What can you do, Rob? Logistics, DJing, dancing, and coaching. What else, right? Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I remember the fax and copy machine as well. Same here. And Nadia, so happy to see you. And thank you so much for dialing in. She is my DCA friends that we have. And Yosama, so happy that we're building this amazing community. And June, so happy that you can chimed in before your client's call. I hope that today's conversation between me and Rob is going to spark you some inspiring juices when it comes to your coaching business, side hustling, your full-time job right now. And Rob, can you tell and share a little bit of your journey becoming a founder of Growth Habits, because you and I share pretty similar path, that you are working in tech industry before.
Mm-hmm.
And you decided to quit your corporate job one day to another and start your business. How that comes around you for you?
So I've always had the entrepreneurial bug. And anytime I've worked for someone else, it's been in a period where I was trying to figure things out, or if the previous business didn't work out. But it was always like count down until I started another business, count down until I went out on my own again. But this last time I felt like I might be stuck. I was in a 6-figure director level role in tech. I was being paid really well. The company I worked for actually had purpose. Like, it was actually doing some good in the world, which most people aren't lucky enough to have that in a job. And there's a mortgage, there's kids. So there's, the golden handcuffs were getting pretty tight around my hands. And I didn't feel that I was going to have many options to make the leap. But I felt that burning that I should be doing something else. And I started doing more and more coaching in my job. And I started to coach the CEOs, and I did leadership development. And that work didn't feel like work. It was really exciting. It made me so happy. The time flew by. It's the stuff I study and read for fun on my time off. And then I was interviewing somewhere else. So I was starting to feel a little unhappy in my job and uncertain. And I thought, well, I'll just change my job. And I was in tech in Toronto, which has been booming for years. Yeah. And people in culture roles are in high demand. So I would get inbound messages regularly. People like, hey, do you want this role? Do you want this promotion? Do you want this? And I used to say no to them. I said yes to one, sitting with the co-founders, second interview, 90 minutes in, it's almost done. We're at the tail end. And it was just like a throwaway question. They're like, what's 5 years out look like for you, Rob? What's 5 years look like? And the answer surprised me as much as it surprised them. I said, coach. And it's nothing I'd ever said publicly other than to my partner or to one of my mentors. And then from that point forward, I made a sticky note. I wrote a day on the wall. I started working with others. I found mentors. I found coaches. I started gathering as much knowledge as I could. And when I announced that I was leaving, I'm really like on LinkedIn, I'm leaving. I'm doing this thing. I'm leaving in 2 months. I'm out. The feedback, the amount of inbound leads, the interest, the overwhelming response I got meant that I had to quit my job a month early. So it's thanks to LinkedIn that I was able to quit my job and I got so many clients. And because it was so overwhelming, I actually had to leave a month earlier than planned.
Oh my goodness. Wow. What a roller coaster ride. But you believe in yourself so much that you decided to basically done that. That's absolutely incredible. And thank you so much for sharing. And I'm pretty sure that mindset or roller coaster ride is just basically, am I doing the right thing, right? And how about now, fast forward?
Oh, without a doubt. I can't imagine. Sometimes I imagine going back and I have nightmares sometimes of still being at work and working for someone else and having that kind of stress, or the stress of getting a notification from someone at work on my phone, or worrying about, because
absolutely.
We're going to talk about habits, and you were talking a bit in your preamble before you brought me on, and the importance of balance between your own needs, your own health, your relationships, all of that versus working all the time. I still sometimes work weekends. I still sometimes work evenings. I've been on a bit of a sprint the last month or so I have been doing more of that. But it's for me, and it's to build something for the future that is helping my family. And it's a dial that I can turn on or off versus before I was being told what to do all the time.
Yes. Absolutely. And this is a perfect segue, Rob. Thank you so much. And let's go ahead and talk about that, because obviously, like my intro, it's something that I've been struggling with as well. And before we jump on going to live, and I also share with you, I do think I have tons to learn as an entrepreneur. I'm only 9 months in, and every day I have I felt it, either that day I'm just on fire, checking emails, and have all my to-do lists, super happy, really motivated, knowing exactly what to do. And there's also days you wake up and like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I felt lost, right? So so today's is really interesting, and I want to learn from you as well. What are some of the practical tips that you talk to entrepreneur, because that's what you do, and you help entrepreneur to guide them to a path that it's really clear what should be focusing on, the direction, and so and so. And I also want to learn from you. I'm pretty sure the audience would love to learn from you too.
Awesome. So I'll get into practical stuff, and I'm happy to give some practical advice. But I want to zoom up a little bit first and tie it
Sure.
back to what you're saying about imposter syndrome. And also because when I was telling my story, you're like, wow, you had so much faith. You believed with yourself and you went. And I really like that you're bringing imposter syndrome out to the front because I want to talk about this. What holds a lot of people back is they think that they need to wait until they feel confident, until they have it all figured out, until everything is perfect and ready to go before they go, which means they stop themselves and they hold themselves back. And what you need to do is create faith and commitment to it and then start taking steps. And then by taking steps, you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to do some things well. You're going to learn some. You're going to gather feedback, which means you're going to get a little bit better. And then eventually you're going to create some competency. Then once you have some competency, then the confidence can come. And it's in that order. People often wait for the confidence first. It doesn't work that way. And it was the biggest thing when I decided to do this was just getting this in order. And I worked with really great mindset coaches, and I did hypnotherapy and I did exercises, and I found people who were way ahead of me and had them teach me. And it was about constructing this because I knew, like I conviction, I knew I was going to figure out, I knew I was going to do this. It didn't matter. I was going to find a way so that when some things didn't go as well, and when a client says no, and when I have a tough day, then it's okay. I'm falling back on that conviction. But, and you highlighted this too, there's no winning the game of imposter syndrome. There's never having no imposter syndrome. I worked with someone a couple of years ago who's a multimillionaire, who is highly, highly successful in their industry. People know them, recognize them. They are loved for what they do, but they have kind of like author fame, which means that they can go to the grocery store and not be kind of bothered. But once in a while, a stranger is going to come up and go, oh my God, I can't believe it's Salina. This person struggled with imposter syndrome. And when I realized that, it blew my mind. So it's never going to go away, especially if you're continuing to grow, especially if you're continuing to push the boundaries of, at first it's like, how can I make money? Who am I? Who am I to think I'm an entrepreneur? Okay, you get through that. Okay, I am an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. Some days are good, some days are bad. Okay, then you hit some level of success. But for each stage, the imposter shows back up to have another battle. All right, I want to pause there because I ranted a bunch before I go into practical stuff.
Yes, and no, but I truly think there's a couple really, really good point here. And I do agree that I thought impulsive syndrome could be something that could be totally overcome at some stage, but it's not true. Like you said, like no matter how there's super wildly successful people out there, they also suffer in impulsive syndrome. And that reminds me of a book that I read, I think a while ago by Stephen Pressfield. It's about turning pro. And it's all about the mindset adjustment that you talk about. And he talked about the inner power within ourselves. And that's why I love Unlock Your Full Potential as my last name, as you can see on my LinkedIn, and creating your life as like a whole. It's a whole life of working in yourself, right? And turning a pro or professional as a mindset. Whereas if you're struggling with fear, self-sabotaging, or like procrastination, self-doubt all the time, these problems, what we're thinking is amateur, so we need to start adjusting ourselves, thinking like a pro. And it happens all the time, but as long as we catch it, address it, and let go of it as soon as we can and move forward, that's the beauty of it. And I love that you talk about growth so much, because that's something that I love to learn, every single day. And you're also right. Another thing that, why are we feeling so uncomfortable? Because we're pushing ourselves further to growth. And those are not comfortable conversation and not comfortable within us, because we're trying to do something that is outside of what we can do in a way, because we've never done that before, right? So absolutely.
I love that you brought up Pressfield too, because he talks a lot about the pro just shows up, and it doesn't matter how well you slept, doesn't matter how you're feeling, you just show up. And I heard someone else saying, it might have been Stephen King, that you commit to, you're going to write 200, if you're an author, let's say, and that's your creative outlet. But it translates to anything, that you're just going to write 200 shitty words a day, and you're not going to judge yourself. Is it good or it's bad? Your job is to show up to the desk and do a certain amount of work. And then what happens if you commit to that? Some days you're going to end up writing 1,000 words. Some days it's going to be good. Some days it's still going to be bad, but then you didn't stop yourself from at least going and taking a swing at bat, which is a huge, huge difference. And you're also talking about comfort zone stuff, which I think is worth double clicking on because you said so much. This is new. There's no one listening to this who's like, has not heard get out of your comfort zone. We've all heard it too much to the point that where we forget what it actually means.
Yeah.
In your comfort zone means you know what's going to happen. You know the outcomes. You know that you're going to do a certain thing. You're going to get good feedback. You know your chance of failing is really slim. You know, like it's safe. It's safe. It's safe. But if you want to learn, if you want to grow, if you want to do different things, you need to be trying stuff where it is likely that you're going to fall on your face, where it is likely that you're going to make some mistakes, where it is likely that you're going to have some bad days. And that's where the richness happens. Yeah. And I think this is a good way to start talking about some practical stuff. And you mentioned earlier about your morning routine. And again, this is something that people talk about all the time. And I'm not going to sit here and say like your morning routine should include these things. Everyone is different.
Yeah.
Everyone is totally different, I would say, but it should probably include some kind of quiet reflection. That might be journaling, that might be meditating, that might be going for a quiet walk in the park near your house. It should probably include some kind of exercise, some kind of body movement, something to get the blood flowing. And the reason why, morning routines are talked about so much, and again, it's the kind of thing that people hear like, oh, another guru telling you to need a morning routine, is if you are an employee somewhere, you are told you have to log in by 9 a.m. You have to be available until this time. You have to respond to emails within 2 hours. This is the deadline for the project. You got to. You've got someone directing your life. Absolutely. If you make a leap like you have to becoming an entrepreneur, you're in charge of your life. You're in charge of your schedule. You're in charge of your own deadlines. Like you have to construct it, own it, and make it in a way so that you are actually doing what you want to be doing. Yes. So that's a huge thing to realize. And then beyond creating structure that serves you. And this is the thing too, a lot of entrepreneurs, not all, a lot of them are a little bit rebellious, are intentionally trying to like get away from corporate, or maybe you want to self-challenging problems. So the idea sometimes of structure or like routine can feel stifling. Yeah. That is your path to freedom. You creating structure that works for you. Again, that's me ranting a bunch. I'll take a break there. I had some other thoughts, but I want to pause because it was me blabbering.
No, not at all. And I'm learning a lot as well. And I like one of the points that you talk about. We own our schedule before our employer own our schedule. And we're constantly telling what to do. But now it's difficult in a way, like also stepping out of our comfort zone because we don't know how to map out our days. And, funny enough, I can admit it right now. I slowly starting 2 weeks ago, I learned how to own up to my schedule. And it might be an unpopular opinion, and I want to ask you, Rob, is that I don't think any VA should be scheduling on behalf of for me for any of of my time, just because I want an overview of my weekly schedule. And 2 weeks ago, I decided telling her, thank you so much. Her name is Teresa. She's wonderful. Whoever that she's dialing in now, perhaps listening to this. She basically, once I did not do that, I find like I really truly own up to my schedule, and I know what to do, and I know what to look forward to, as well as I can know how to like sometimes rearrange some of the meetings in order to help my week to be a little bit more productive. So I like the point that you point out about the owning to your schedule. And the other second point I love about like the morning ritual. I want to know yours, Rob. So I'm going to share with you mine, because I have really biggest trouble in terms of meditation. And I see that Nadia talked about the hypnotherapy earlier, to your point, right? Like mindful meditation. My best friend swear that I have the longest challenge of the time when I meditate, I'm not meditating. Like I try to block out my phone for 5-10 minutes, and then I start like thinking about my work. It's not meditation, by definition. So now I decided to, instead of doing that, I do like flow morning yoga or power morning yoga, depending on how I feel about it. And then right after that, I will make myself a coffee. I know the coffee thing that you have. Start looking at my schedule and rearranging it, understanding how to make my day really productive. So this is how the starting of the morning ritual. How about you, Rob? What's your morning ritual?
I'll share my morning ritual, but I want to share a couple things that you pointed out. First, when
Sure.
you're talking about your schedule and having your VA set or not, one of the things I was going to say is I was talking earlier, you asked about when I have coffee, and I have these days that I block off. If you were in charge of your schedule, to just question everything and realize you don't need to follow the structure you had before. You don't need to have meetings every day. You don't need to be available all the time. And what I would suggest to you, so that you can fully leverage your VA in a way so that you're out of the weeds a bit, but also feel like you're in charge, is at the start of the week or whenever, whatever cadence works for you, you say, Tuesdays is no calls. I'm doing this. I'm available for clients Thursday morning and Monday morning. Like, you set out blocks of time that they work within the containers so that they can still do the scheduling, but that you're like, all Friday is strategic big picture thinking and you're not doing any calls or whatever. So just know that they are like Lego pieces. And just because your schedule was run a certain way when you're an employee, that you can really dictate that. You don't, like, I've just started now changing it, but I went a year where I didn't do calls on Friday. And then I sometimes do some calls now Friday morning a little bit, but then like Fridays I don't do calls, and I'll at least have one day a week where like I have no client calls, no sales calls, like nothing in my schedule other than things that are really intentional for me.
For business.
Yeah, and the other thing
I like that approach, and great tips, by the way. Like, block off some of the areas, and your VA could work within those zones to help you to schedule clients meeting instead of all wildly available, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's good. It allows you to have some focus time, because task switching is really tough on focus. If you're spending 5 minutes on this, 15 minutes on that, an hour on this, you're not getting into any deep work. And the other thing worth talking about, when I was talking about, like the morning ritual or morning routine, is be intentional about your relationship with this.
Yes.
Be very intentional. And that, for me, it means turning off notifications. It means not touching it for the first hour of the day and the last hour of the day. It means intentionally taking time every weekend where I'm literally deleting apps. Sometimes it's just for 3 or 4 hours. Sometimes it's a whole 48 hours. Because again, just like a boss at a corporate job, this thing will dictate. It'll tell you what other people's priorities are. It'll tell you what to do. It'll tell you what to look at. It will entice you and wheel you in. And then as far as me, my morning routine, there's, my partner jokingly calls it my boot up sequence. So
what is it called again?
My boot up sequence, like the way computers needed to boot up. Like, there's certain things that need to happen in order before the machine works. And for me, it's a cold shower, all cold. It's not hot then cold, but totally cold shower. Stretches and exercises, which includes some yoga poses, some pull-ups to get the body flowing, get the body moving. Then it is a meditation. And then afterwards, it is some journaling. And I have no structure to my journaling. It's just whatever comes to mind. And some days it ends up like my mind's a bit frazzled. It's more like a to-do list. Other times it's more like a gratitude journal. Other times it's ideas. But I find after that sequence of doing those things, there tends to be things in here that are worth getting out on paper. And once it's out of here, then my mind is clear to think about how I want to embrace the day and how I want to like step into the day.
Amazing. I like the term that your partner calling it boot up, boot up. I'm going to steal it from it and quote it back to you, like Robb's partner, quote up, boot up. That's my boot up routine. I love that. Yes, absolutely. And I just want to quickly pull out some of the audience really great, it's great concept, Robb, conviction, we get confidence and admit to your dreams. And just someone say, consistency is the key of relevancy towards cultivating prosperity. Love that, man. And word.
Thanks, Salina. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, and you're right about saying everybody is different and has their own chronotypes, and we are definitely not robots. So routine and rituals are great as long as they allow for flexibility and room for life to happen. Love that, Nadia, and thank you for sharing.
There's something I want to say to Nadia's comment, actually, which is totally true. The difference between forcing rigidity and allowing for life to happen. Because, some days a kid's going to wake up in the middle of the night. Some days you're not going to sleep well. Some days you're traveling. Some days there's things you can't control. The key is to not fall off 2 days in a row. And it's to not miss 2 days in a row. And so figure out the kind of routine and rituals that work for you, that empower you, that give you energy, that give you clarity. Commit to them, and just know that when one of those life happens days, because they will, that you're not going to miss it 2 days in a row, because if you miss it 2 days in a row, then you're missing your momentum, and it's an uphill battle, and it becomes a lot more difficult to start creating again.
Absolutely. And I love that tip a lot. And I'm living by it as well. Like once I miss one day, I feel super, super guilty. And I form myself next day, I have to continue. And you're right, the momentum will lose part of it. And it's okay. 1 or 2 days that you really missed out because of something happening in your life, that's totally fine. But remember to get back to it. Love that. Yeah, and Rob, share with us more about some practical tips for people to sort of form their growth habits, because I know it's really tough. We talk about scheduling. We own up to scheduling. We talk about morning routine. We need to talk about setting routines that stick to it. And if something really happened, then the two days golden rule that you suggested. What else do you think is something that people should be really mindful about for entrepreneur?
2 things. One you touched on a bit earlier, and it's just the importance of prioritizing sleep, good food, relationships, other things that fill your cup. And I think that there is, hustle culture did a really great job of trying to convince people that you got to grind all the time, and look at Elon Musk, he doesn't sleep, and all these other things. But then I'm like, Elon Musk has already had 3 divorces. So is that the model that I want to follow? It might be for you. And if it is for you, then it's no judgment. But I can tell you that is not the model for me. And back to Nadia's point about life happens is we are not robots. And the fuel for us, our vessels, really is quality sleep, good nutrition, and the quality of your exercises and your relationships. Because what's the point of all this hustling and grinding if you feel terrible, you have no energy, you don't feel healthy, and your relationships are in a terrible place? So I think that's something that's worth pointing out. And the other thing is, it's less practical, but just stop and question yourself. When you're feeling fearful, when you're feeling scared, when you feel uncertain about something, where is that fear coming from? And deeper than that is like, where does your self-worth come from? Because there's a big thing in marketing, in online marketing, in social selling. People say all the time, know, like, and trust. People need to know, like, and trust you. What do you need to do to make sure that people know, like, and trust you? And for me, it's ass backwards. And the focus is on the wrong thing, because if you focus too much on that, then you're worried about the opinion of others. You're worried about other people liking you. You're worried about making sure other people support you, whatever. But you have to know, like, and trust yourself. Do you know you? Do you know what makes you happy? Do you know what your values are? Do you know, when push comes to shove, what's really important to you as an individual human being? Do you like yourself? Can you look in the mirror and say, you know what? I like this person. I love this person. Not in a conceited way, but you actually love who you are, and you appreciate yourself with all your bumps and bruises, even when you make mistakes. And then the trust piece comes back to, do you do what you say you're going to do? Do you hold your word to yourself? If you say you're going to do something, do you trust and believe that you are going to keep your word and do what you say and what you want to do? So it's about know, liking, and trusting yourself. And once you have that, then it's way easier, or it's actually, I'll say it's almost impossible to get other people to know, like, and trust you if you don't know, like, and trust yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Rob, thank you so much for sharing. And I mean, I'm going to basically take a couple of things to just sort of talk about, because I love that you talk about social media, about all these trust, because it's difficult, especially nowadays, together with COVID. And I was watching this Netflix series yesterday. It's called Explain. And they talk about money as well as social media, and trust always popping up, because before internet or social media, all these things, we've got to basically meet in person. And when meeting person, the trust really are taking a huge factor about it. But whereas on the internet, in order to trust somebody, you do all these online Zoom meetings with somebody in order to get to know someone. But if you just plainly look at someone's website or plainly look at someone's LinkedIn profile, you wouldn't be able to get a real taste of who they really are. So I do truly believe the trust factor is really, really important, and comes alive when how you see yourself, and whether you trust who you're putting forward and whether you're proud of it. That what you're putting forward is your genuine self. I mean, genuine, authentic, these are all buzzwords, but it's really whether you own up to what you truly believing in. And it's tough some days, right? You try to show up to the social media really happy every single day. It's tough. And celebrating all the wins, and obviously people will going to wave and cheer for you, but at the same time it's important to address those bad days that you're having. And that's why having those support group, your business besties around is super important, so that when you are in your low days, you still have people around supporting you. What do you think about that?
No, I think it makes total sense. And as far as the support around you is the biggest piece. And I think if you know, like, and trust yourself and do what I just said, and you use that when you show up online, then it's a lot easier to come across authentic. Because you're saying, you know, it's hard for someone to look at your profile and say they don't know who you are. I disagree. I get people all the time, they look at my profile and they message me, it's like, wow, I feel like I already know you.
Really? That's incredible.
So it's because I know who I am. I know what I believe in. I know what's important to me. I love myself. And there's few things you could say that could really trigger me and make me think like, oh no, I'm a terrible person. And I'm pretty damn good at keeping my word to myself. That combined with when showing up online, you have to decide, you're talking about authenticity and genuine, like those are buzzwords. So you decide, where's the net? Where's the things, up to what point are you willing to share online? For me, one of the things I'm not willing to share online is I don't share my children's names. I don't show their faces, and I don't share anything that would give away kind of who they are. I want them to have their own privacy in their own lives. Almost anything else, everything else about me, my experiences, my fears, stuff, I share online. And that allows people to feel like they're getting to know me, and that they are able to, if something I say relates to them, make a connection to me. So there is a way. But you're right. It's so different than in person. It's so different than in person.
Really, really different. And it's difficult, right? Obviously, you and I, like, I find very relatable to you because we have very similar values. Imagine it's difficult sometimes. People don't know how to show or showcase who they really truly are online. They're trying to portray another person. That's another sort of topic, but these are just some of the things that we have to deal with. And one of the point that perhaps is important to talk about, because we talked about imposter syndrome earlier, is how do we talk to our inner self when it comes to looking and tempted to look at our competitors, right? Someone's video, someone's social media, and so on and so forth, and trying to compare yourself and catch yourself. I mean, I catch myself here and there to compare myself in someone's chapter 10, right? And that's not easy, but only when you are be able to identify it and catch it right away and release it. I like releasing as a great word that I'm learning, releasing it and let go and move forward. And that's something that I think a lot of us should be constantly reminding of ourselves.
I like that a lot because it hits on a few things we've talked about so far. Is one, we're talking about the phone earlier, and this is magic. The only way you and I know each other is thanks to LinkedIn and thanks to technology.
Absolutely.
This way I get all my clients. It's incredible, but it's also addictive, and it's also, you can fall into a comparison hole, which you just spoke about. I love the way you're talking about to just being aware, to just being self-aware and question the thoughts that show up and like, oh, where is this coming from? Why am I feeling this? And then, because if you call it out, then you can release it. And the other thing I sometimes say to people is, it's like, imagine we're going on a hike. Imagine, Salina, like me, you, my partner, your fiance, we meet up, we're getting in a car, we drive somewhere to go to a hike. We get to the parking lot, we get out of the car, there's the trail, and we see that there's a bunch of people who started before us, who are way further ahead of us on the trail.
Yeah.
We're not going to say, screw it, get back in the car and not go on the trail just because there's other people on the trail further ahead. No, we're still going to get out and go start our own journey on the trail ourselves instead of comparing ourselves to others and letting that hold us back. And the last
good analogy. I love that. Like, we should always tell ourselves every time when the competitor imposter syndrome comes alive, let's think about the trail. I love that, Rob.
Yeah.
Great
Thank you.
point.
I'm glad you like it. And the other piece is just, it goes back to the press field stuff you were talking about earlier, as far as how much are you creating. And I find that if you start managing how much time you're consuming versus how much time you're creating, it makes a difference, and you're less likely to fall into the comparison trap. And look, if you're not creating on social media right now, or you're not in a place where you're feeling very creative or you're putting much output, cool. Turn the volume down on the amount you're consuming.
Yeah.
And making sure if you're creating more than you're comparing or consuming, then the comparison it's harder to fall in the comparison trap.
Yeah, absolutely. And I never thought about creating your original content takes so much values to the backbone of the business is really truly are, as well as it helps me as a person, as a content creator, improve so much by having people commenting and understanding all those statistics. So to your point, consuming is super important from the social media world, because we've got to basically learn from each other. And to me, every day on LinkedIn, I'm learning from multiple different people, including yourself. But creating is where the beauty, you're really working to accomplish your hurdles of something that you truly believing in, understanding your voices, understanding how you tell your own story, how to write your own story, as well as how some of the things that you're truly are expert in and how you channel it to the wild world. Great. And Andrew said, I love the hiking analogy too. Andrew, so happy to have you, buddy, and we've got to catch up. And Rob, I love one of the things that I want to pick on that, and obviously sorry that we're a little bit running time, and I'm pretty sure the audience love us because we're having so much fun with the coffee break that, I mean, I always extend it, and whoever that like to stay, please do, is that relationship. I think relationship is so important to everything. Like, I felt like sometimes we don't felt it's a need to talk about it, and I even felt ashamed to talk about it actually 2 or 3 years ago, because I have had a long distance relationship with my husband for 5 years. It was really extremely tough, and that's part of the key reason and key factor I decided to quit my job and live to this new wild world, Luxembourg, to be with him. But I figure I'm happier, I'm healthier. Relationship really helped me grow as a person. And I felt like similarly, if I don't have a really healthy relationship with my husband, with my friends, with my family, I truly believe that it will affect negatively to my business as well. What do you think about that?
Fully. And I love that you are sharing this and you had this revelation yourself, because, I said earlier, what's the point? What is the point of everything you're doing if you don't have quality time with the people who you love? If you don't have time where you're feeling seen and heard, where you're laughing, where you're playing, where you're sharing, where you're growing with the people who you love? We're communal beings. We are communal beings, and we thrive in community, and we grow in community and supporting and sharing each other. And I think even beyond that, it translates to business. If you want to succeed, if you want to grow, if you want to acquire clients, it's relationships. There's a reason why those pitch slaps that show up in your inbox drive you crazy, because that person, there's no relationship, there's no context. This person's coming in and they're trying to get you to download their thing, to book a call. They're trying to, ask you, but there's no relationship. So if you want to succeed on LinkedIn, if you want to succeed in business, and in my opinion, if you want to be happy and joyful and enjoy life, I'm not going to say succeed in life, then the health of your relationships is the best indicator. And that's why I look at someone like Elon Musk, I'm like, that's probably not the path for me. I'm pretty confident that for me and probably many of the people I know, that will be misery. That is not happiness. That's not fulfillment. That is not success.
Yeah, absolutely. And not just Elon Musk, many more that down in the road. But yeah, I truly believe is someone really understanding how a healthy relationship is, that will channels to the client's relationship, the friendship, who they dealt with different people, how relationship take into the equations of everything that they do. And I think that's one of the things that I learned so much, and have that aha or epiphany moment that relationship is really the backbone of everything. And to like you said, to succeed in life, that's where to go. I absolutely love that. And Rob, it's so nice to have you today, seriously, and this amazing conversation. Rob, is there anything that you want to, share with our audience before we go?
Is there any last words or any last thoughts I want to share with people?
Yes.
I was talking earlier about liking and trusting yourself.
Yes.
And when it comes into the knowing yourself piece, I'm a coach and mentor. I focus more on the business side, but I didn't always. I used to be a habits coach. And the reason why coaching is so powerful, and the reason why so many people, once they experience coaching, they turn around and we're like, wow, I want to help other people feel this kind of incredible magic, is one of the first things that really great coaches do with someone is help you figure out who the heck you are. What do you actually value? What's actually important to you? And then once you have your values, you can use that as a compass for how you navigate the world, for how you make decisions, for how you make choices, for where you live, to what you do with your business. And it should be the same with you, regardless of where you are in life, whether you're an employee, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're 20 years in, whether you're 9 months in, to just get really clear on what makes you happy, what brings you joy, and what are the most important things, and use that. Because we're talking about relationships. If you know what your values are, then you can prioritize your schedule, prioritize your time. Do I take this big project or not? Do I take this promotion or not? Do I scale my team and hire another VA? Starting with that as your compass.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love that. Starting that as a compass, guys. I hope you guys are taking a lot of key takeaways, because I really do. And Rob, you and I have to chat right after this, because I have so much to continue catching up with you. But if anybody is still listening, really enjoying today, please go ahead and follow Rob on LinkedIn. He's always putting up the best content, super, super creative. And if you want a business coach, which I highly recommend you, please go ahead and reach out to Rob. And for whoever that is tuning in from YouTube as well as Facebook, I guess I will see you next time, same day. And we'll talk about another topic with Melissa, and talking about make this shit happen. So let's do that. And if anybody is still listening to this, just a very quick marketing message. Our team just put together a really exciting freebies to download at theinacademy.com, which me and Rob talked about a little bit together earlier, is be a creator. And that freebie is super simple to teach about how 10 rules are helping you to create amazing, engaging LinkedIn content. So please go ahead and download that if that's helpful to your work. And I wish everybody a fantastic Wednesday ahead. And thank you so much, Rob. And thank you, Stephen, for joining. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. See you guys. Bye.